annual reports for partners organizations. We'll start with Vice Chair Ruiz. Do you have any questions?
I do. For the programs, do you know whether there's any sponsorships for low-income folks to participate?
As I had noted, all of our programs that you see before you on the partnership side are run independently from us. I know that the Junior Athletic Association has some sort of scholarship program, and I believe the football does too. I am not sure on the aquatics, and obviously Art Association is really not that type of a group. AYSO, I don't believe they have one because they're more of a national organization. But it's up to each of the governing bodies of whether they have a way to bring in those who are low income.
Got it. And then my other question,
Do you know if the Friends of Southgate are still helping out?
The Friends of
Low
Southgate
income?
are still here. We do help out when we get those requests that come in. We have the nonprofit arm of the park that does that. We do have some funding available for it. And when we do get those requests, we review them and honor them when we can.
what's the Friends of Southgate?
Friends of Southgate Park is run by the Parks and Recreation Commission along with the director and a deputy director of Parks and Recreation. It is a 501c3 charity group that allows donations to the Parks and Recreation Department so we can put on things like Halloween,
Oh, got
Breakfast
it.
with Santa. That's where we take in our donations and put them back out for the different groups.
Oh, I see. So if we're interested in giving some money out to sponsor some or youth or
Yeah, we've had available funding for
Right.
years, and we have had a number of people use it.
Oh, awesome. And then my other question was related to the Southgate, the Aztecs program. There were a couple of lines that kind of worried me regarding the sense that they felt like, at least I read, or my understanding was that they felt like they had the lack of support from the city in terms of having or getting a space, having advocacy for their program. My understanding, however, is different from at least my participation at the council meetings when they have gone to present. At least I remember council members advocating on their behalf to Jackie Goldberg, to the LAUSD, to the principals, to get them space to practice and have their games, and also providing Hollydale as a place for practice. And also, I remember even council members and folks, at least vouching to give some money to support some of their, I think even like during their equipment and stuff like that. So can you clarify on what kind of support they are getting from the city?
You mentioned most of the support that's there. Their biggest issue for the Aztec is finding a permanent home where they can do both practices and games on a regular basis. For 30 years, as it mentions in the report, Southgate High School was that home. And then there were some allegations that are mentioned in the report, and the principal at Southgate High School terminated their contract with them. The Aztecs have been to the council meeting on several occasions asking for city support, and we have brought it forward to LAUSD, not unlike themselves as a independent group. LAUSD does not belong to the city, and their allocation of space is up to them. We have put pressure on them through our city manager, through the director's office here. We have attended meetings and tried to get people there and had some limited success, but not great success because, as mentioned in the report, a lot of the control over fields is set by principals at each of the schools, which if you have a great principal who wants a group around, that's good. If that changes, so it leaves it kind of on a whim to the principal side of life. We have asked and advocated for a more strict contract that gives us these things, but have not been able to get a consistent one with this group. We have supported them. I know on a regular basis, as you mentioned, they use Hollydale Regional Park for the preseason practices and things like that. We have used, they have at times used Diamond 9 and 10 when those are available. We've given them. And then during the actual season, when things like LAUSD are available and they get to use the schools, the city has given the funding that is required, because LAUSD does not allow them to use it for free. And so all the funding for all their games and practice times that is there has been paid for by the city. One of the problems that this has run into, that after their overall 30-year stint at Southgate High School, where they were a great tenant and they worked together, when they lost that, they were looking for spaces to go, but they came back to a Parks and Recreation department that's impacted, as you guys know, full with baseball, soccer, softball, everything else, that could not accommodate a full-blown football program in there. So we went out, and for a number of years, we rented the high school fields for them under our name, and the permit for LAUSD was under City of Southgate. Recently, in the last couple years, LAUSD has not allowed that anymore, and only allows the group that wants to use the fields to do that. We can no longer rent it as the City of Southgate and give it away. And so that's where we went to the process of paying for it, but now they're finding it more difficult to go through that process and get the fields.
And what are they asking for now? That's what was unclear. I know that they've asked for space at a park. And I know there's been discussions between, Diamonds 9 and 10 and the golf course. I know Diamonds, I mean, just from my experience, like you said, softball has always been a sport that's in high demand. That's always, almost used to full capacity. Yeah, exactly.
Approximately 2 to 3 years ago, the city brought to the council 12 different options of where we could possibly put fields and stuff. But we also gave a proper analysis of all those things, what they would take away. Like if you took Diamonds 9 and 10 away, there would be a loss of a lot of space for youth baseball and softball, adult baseball and softball, soccer play during the winter, all those things. If we turn those into permanent fields, we looked at other locations. Golf course was one, but the conversions over to it were going to cost millions of dollars, which the city didn't have at the time, and we would lose the golf course. There were many an option. There were 12 different options at the time, one of which was LA County at the time was building the space in the Hollydale area right across from Southgate in Downey, but literally across the street. And we had the option at that time of moving them into that space, but that they at that time said, hey, we're a Southgate football group, we don't want to be in Downey. But it's just more of a lack of space from our side. We don't have lights over at Hollydale Regional, which is the only other park that has the capacity to hold them, but with no lights, they can't practice there and stuff unless it's middle of summer. So there have been a number of options available. There has not been one decided on by the council of where to go with it. They have asked us on a number of occasions to try to work with LAUSD. That has not been entirely successful, and I know that's something that council and our city manager will keep looking at, but we cannot control how the real estate unit at LAUSD moves.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely glad in for you reaffirming the support that I know that they have gotten from council and you and folks from the city, because I didn't read that in the report, but which is a little disappointing, at least in my opinion. But thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, Secretary Pelayo?
Yeah, actually, regarding the Aztecs, it seems like they have some sort of understanding with the LAUSD, and then on the day they show up, the principal says you can't use the fields today or something like that, right? Are we as the park still supporting and allowing LAUSD to use our facilities like we've done in the past, free of charge, and maybe that's an avenue that we can maybe pursue to put a little more pressure on LAUSD to hopefully get something going because, football, I think, is a lot of kids look forward to that, and I think it's a good program. And I think that we should definitely look for options, right? I mean, I know you mentioned there's 12 options. I would imagine we should probably be able to, get one of those at least going. And I know it has to do with money and it has to do with support, but that's my question mainly. Is there a way that we can possibly put a little more pressure on LAUSD through the use of our facilities? That's one thing. And then second, if I'm not mistaken, one of the fields at Southeast is owned by the city of Southgate, correct? Is that possibly something that we can use for that use?
Well, to answer both your questions, first of all, the LAUSD, the Southgate High School, Southgate Middle School, all the different schools in here do use our facilities and are currently still using them all for free. That is a policy decision of the city council, okay? So it's not a Parks and Rec decision in there. And part of the concern is that LAUSD, at being such a large entity, if you were to restrict a small number of the schools, and that's what Southgate would be, just a small number of the schools, that LAUSD may not respond at all, and we would lose, baseball, aquatic, softball, all these things for those kids too, because LAUSD, may not see this as a need to, continue forward at all. So I think the council, that's a policy question for the council, and I think they are weighing the balance of, hey, if we did this, would we endanger other kids from being able to play or participate in activities at the park?
Okay.
Oh, second one is, we do not own any interest at Southeast High School. We do have a joint use agreement at Legacy High School, but we do for their baseball fields only. And we, at one point, tried to make that into a football thing, but the administration at LAUSD pointed out to us that in our contract, they're listed as baseball and softball only fields, and that no other sports could actually use them. So there are 3 of them there, 2 softball, 1 baseball, but we can only use them during our assigned times, and we have assigned times, but only during those times and only for softball or baseball.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that answer. Another question, just would you be able to tell us a little bit more about park policy number 9? And what exactly is the requirements that, I know these are independent organizations and they're autonomous and separate from the city, but what degree of control do we have over them? And regarding the reports, what requirements do we ask of them? Because I noticed that some of them provide numbers and budget and that, and some of them don't provide that. So I'd like to know a little bit more about what we require from them.
As for the actual reporting, we do not put there's not a set sheet of, hey, you got to report A, B, C, D, and E, right? We have traditionally just left that up to the organizations to give us their input. If there's something the commission would like to get from each group, we'd be happy to look at that. As I said, our job today is an oversight job of seeing that they're following what is the Policy 9 process for this. And I don't have, I'm going to make sure I tell you, I don't have it all memorized on Policy 9. And I can make sure Anna can send you a copy of Policy 9
Yeah, that'd be great.
by next week, just so you guys can review it. But what this is this helps us know that they are continuing to stay within the bounds of Policy 9 and allows you guys to ask some questions about it. But we do not have, let's say, direct oversight of the groups. We can't go, hey, you have to charge less. Hey, you got to let this kid in. Hey, you got to change how you do this. We leave that to them because that makes them an independent group, right? What we do
But you
check
do
is,
police the requirements, though.
yes, we can kind of police the requirements. We make sure they have the proper insurances. We check to see that if there's any major complaints from them or about them, that come across, and we ask, what's happening there, and we make sure that,
Or
you know.
vice versa, right?
They're
I mean, if
telling
They have
us that-
complaints about the park or,
Right. If they're out of compliance, they're not, they don't have a full board, they don't have any of that for whatever reason, we can suspend their participation as a partner organization, and eventually, if they would not come into compliance, we could take them off of it completely.
yeah. And then just piggybacking on what Secretary Pelayo said, the financial statements, some shared it because they wanted to, right?
Right.
But we do have a documentation or a place where financials are stored every month, or
No, we don't. We did at one
that's
point.
not part of the,
No, we
Okay.
did at one point, and for many years, the commission oversaw the financial reports of each of the organizations. But it was determined later on by our legal staff that this was not proper. We had to, we do not have a vested interest in the actual group itself, and to do that would would bring a liability to the city. And so we no longer oversee their finances. That is up to the people who participate in their group, members, however that is.
it's up to the board to police their own
Right.
organization.
And if something comes back and we get notified, if we were to get notified that XYZ group no longer meets the California state requirements for a nonprofit, we would suspend them from being a
Right.
partner organization. Or if, something happened to their board and they aren't able to hold board meetings anymore, we would have the opportunity to suspend them from that. But we do not oversee, and we don't want to, because we don't want to dictate their terms, because we don't want to be the ones liable for it.
Yeah. So as long as they meet the minimum requirements that you're asking for, and again, meeting a nonprofit organization and,
Yes.
being a true organization that's for the community, for the children, then you guys are
Right.
pretty much okay with it.
Yeah, the question was more just, I guess, look for some consistency across all of the partner organizations, so that, we're sort of, because I also noticed that some of the reports are made by, for example, the president of the organization, and other reports are maybe the secretary or something like that. So, yeah, if Anna can send us a copy of Policy 9, I think that would be great, just so that we know exactly what we're looking for. And in no way, I think you're correct in terms of letting them do what they have to do and operate so that they provide the services to the community. But at the same time, we do have some control over it, and, as long as they're within compliance.
Right. And we could ask for some basic information from each group, well, not a full financial report.
Right.
Bank balance, number of registrations for the year, small things.
Sure.
To start, and then allow them to expand upon that with their overall report. But as long as we get some base figures of, hey, we had 3 seasons of baseball, or 2 seasons of baseball, 1 season of basketball. For baseball, we had X amount of teams. For this, we had X. And we can encourage them and tell them, hey, we want the basics of it. But it's kind of hard, most of them are sporting, but the aquatics is not going to give you the same setup as the football.
Correct, yeah.
And so that's part of it, but for the most part, we can make sure that they have certain little items in there, but we don't want to be too nitpicky on the whole thing.
Right. Right. Yeah, we want to make sure that they're going to be around and they're solvent,
Right.
and not drop off halfway through the season, basically. So that's part of it. I had a question regarding the Art Association. What does the membership mean, or what does that include to be a member of the Southgate Art Association?
I can tell you from the experience in the past, when they had a full board and people, they were able to get together. They would promote art happenings. They had, at one point, they had a instructor who was teaching art. They did worked on gallery shows that showed up in the art gallery here. And then a lot of them helped out with our art night for the kids that we had every Azalea Festival, right? There was a much larger group originally, with a lot of those type of groups. They slowly moved away, passed on, did other things, and have shrunk to a level where they cannot currently pull together a board, but they are working on it. There's at least a couple, I believe I talked to the president of it today, and there's at least 4 members that have started the process and are looking for more, and once they get up to a full board, they will notify us, and we'll make sure they're in compliance.
Okay.
Why don't they just change the number of their board? I mean, isn't it by law at least just 3?
They have a bylaw already.
Oh, because of their own bylaws?
Right, they have a bylaw, they created a bylaw when they were bigger. To become a nonprofit, they have to complete and stay within those bylaws. So they can't just go, hey, there's only one of us left, that's all you need. No, they can't go, hey, well, we only need 3. They need to fill the positions that they say, that they sent to the state of California that says, we'll have these. And they got to have enough memberships to do that.
Got it, sort of. Yeah, 'cause I thought, yeah, by law, a nonprofit only needs at least three members. But I guess,
That's how, it depends how you wrote it up when you sent it in.
You'd probably have to change the bylaw maybe and
Right.
make an
Right.
adjustment,
Yeah.
but that's a whole nother process, right? And so,
Exactly.
yeah. Regarding the partner organizations, is there a liaison between the city and the organization that regularly is in communication with them? Or is it just the annual sort of oversight that we have?
No, each of our partner organizations has a full-time liaison from the city. Most of the sports ones come out of the sports section. James Markel, the supervisor, assigns coordinators that oversee and meet with the organization. They would attend the board meetings. They would get, requests for fields or do that type of stuff. So most of AYSO and JA have, through there, the swim team is overseen and has a liaison through our pool group. The Art Association, Jennifer Mejia from our group there is the liaison that meets with the Art Association, and I'm missing someone again. Aztecs are through the Parks and Rec, and I think James actually oversees them.
Okay. And I guess in general, when there's, let's say, one of these organizations is out of line, right? Is there a process in place by which any problem that arises is handled essentially, and who does that, and what exactly does it entail?
We do have processes in place. As I said, first process is our liaison who oversees what's happening. If for some reason we were to receive a complaint about a group, hey, XYZ is happening, and do that, we have a official form in the Parks and Recreation Department. Any parent can come in, fill out the form, note the complaint. If it's a complaint that is a internal complaint for the organization, we share that complaint with them. So if you were to come in and say, hey, my kid plays Pee Wee baseball, but they keep putting the bases at 90 feet, right? That's not our, well, actually, we do put the bases, but the group's got them in the, if it's something like that, we would just turn that complaint over to the board of directors so that they can address the plate, and we would ask them to return to us, a note that says, hey, yeah, they're supposed to be at 60 feet, we messed up last week, right? Type of thing, or didn't move them in time, type of thing. If it's a general complaint on the overall board, they can fill that out. Our liaison will take it, review the complaint. If they have to, they'll go with the supervisor and present that complaint to the board saying, hey, this is what the parents are saying about the whole thing. If there is a process within the board for them to take care of that, they will move the parent to that process. So if it's a, hey, we want to complain about a commissioner or something else like that, but they come to us, we'll say, hey, here you go, and the JA would like you to go to this board meeting to oversee this and turn in this complaint.
Okay.
And so there are those processes throughout the thing.
Got it. I guess the last question I have regarding, I know the aquatics, I read that, and it may be a typo, regarding the board, is it strictly parents that are in the board? Or are there coaches in the board, or are there employees of the park and recs that are part of
No,
that
they
board?
are a board of their own. They're a nonprofit. It is adults only on the board. The participants are not because they're youth. We do have our liaison that goes to every meeting for them so they can listen, provide feedback, and do what happens there. But the coaches, swim team's a little unique, is the coaches there are actually employees of the board or independent contractors of the board. So they are not on the board. They do go to the meetings and, suggest stuff and go from there, but they have a contract with the organization.
Okay. I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you. So I don't have any questions, but I do have comments. So as a 52-year member of the city of Southgate, I've pretty much done 80% of these. Unfortunately, I haven't spent too much time with the arts club, but I played football. My kids play football. I played baseball. My kids play baseball, basketball. We swam. They've been part of the swimming team. So I understand really how all the processes work, and I really appreciate what you guys go through, because it's not easy, and I'm glad you guys have the liaisons to go out there and kind of make life easier for you. I know just being part of the Southgate JA for a long time, every meeting that I was at, there was a representative from the park there, either to fish complaints, hear even complaints from parents, hear complaints from us about fields or anything, and they've always reacted. So I'm sure that goes on throughout all these different organizations. So I appreciate it. I just want to say that because, as again, somebody who got to participate in these things as a youth myself, got to enjoy my children being part of these organizations as youths themselves, them even, being coaches and commissioners. So I know the importance, and I just can't stress enough how thankful we are that people like yourself do carry that burden on their shoulders and are accepting of it and do the best you guys can.
And let me make sure you guys understand another thing here, is we in the Parks and Recreation Department truly appreciate our partner organizations. One of the reasons we made Policy 9 is that we realized that without these partner organizations, we would not be able to provide all the services we do, right?
Not on your own, no.
Not on our own. There'd be a significant impact financially on us to do all this. And it's not easy finding 100 coaches for baseball teams and softball teams. Finding soccer referees, doing it. There's a lot of work they do. They are totally great at it, and we understand they're volunteers, and sometimes they're just voluntold, where, hey, you're coaching your kid, but we really need a commissioner. Can you do it? If you can't, that team's not going to be able to play,
Yeah.
It takes a lot to run a partner organization. There's work to be done and a lot of time put in and effort put into it, and some very dedicated parents and people who, some don't even have kids in the program anymore, that have been doing it for years. So it's not an easy task. We truly appreciate them. As we know, we would not be able to offer all that we do without them.
Right.
So,
But thank you again. Appreciate it. Do I have a motion to receive this file?
This is Liz. I so move.
Zedgar, I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll close this. Number 3, open session item number 4, grounds and parks facility maintenance, second quarter review, fiscal year 23-24.
All right, just to start off with, the reason I'm doing 2 reports in one is because we didn't have a quorum last month. So there's a little bit of bleed over from one report to the other, just want to emphasize.
Yeah.
I'll start off with the grounds maintenance side. Of course, we hosted a variety of events, from Halloween, Winter Wonderland at City Hall, the Santa's Village, the parade, and we continue with host monthly food giveaways at Holiday Regional Park, Circle Park. Tree trimming was completed at Southgate Park. I hope to move on to Holiday Regional Park next month and use the remaining funds. There's not much, but I want to get the bigger ficus trees. Baseball diamonds number 9 and 2 were renovated during this quarter. Let's see, park facility maintenance. Again, hosted a variety of events, pageant of the trees, It's one extra one that they had to do, Breakfast with Santa as well. Again, as I stated previously, Francisco Munoz was promoted to Park Facility Maintenance Worker, and he works the Thursday through Sunday schedule. We continue with the third day inspection and cleaning of outside restrooms in the late afternoon, and ongoing equipment cleaning. And then with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Certainly.
Vice Chair Reese, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I think you answered the only question I had about the cleanup and just, you know, I mentioned it at the council meeting, but I'm really glad that you guys have been on top of the tree trimming, especially with the windy conditions we've had recently. I definitely noticed a difference in fallen branches, and it's actually one of my unfounded fears when I go running or walking, having a branch fall on me. But I definitely, you know, enjoy the park facilities and just the cleanliness I've almost always seen. I know that a lot of things are outside your, you know, the staff control, but I definitely see how fast people respond when I have reported things. So, you know, just want to say good job on
Thank you.
keeping them safe and clean.
Thank you. Secretary Palayo, any questions or comments?
Just, I know that in the past, we discussed the gopher issues, right? How's that coming along?
I was going to report that later on, but now that you bring it up, I'll mention it right now. My staff in Hollydale, the Gerardo Hernandez, if you ever gone out there, say, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and you notice all those mounds all over the place, and there's a bunch of brown spots and such, since he's been out there, he's made tremendous strides towards changing the appearance of that park. He's an excellent grounds maintenance worker to begin with. And he comes from a background of being a gardener working with his dad. And he has a very strong work ethic. He, along with the contractors that help, the contractors use carbon monoxide with a tube and do it. He goes out there and literally traps, and he will collect between 30 to 60 gophers in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, he's made a tremendous impact on Hollydale Regional Park and Circle Park and Garndale Tot Lot. Occasionally, we'll bring him over to Southgate Park. As you know, right now, springtime. Springtime's when you start having more gophers. They start leaving the nest and they go look for a new place to live. They get out in the middle of the night and run. They'll just dig another hole. We've had now a new bloom of gophers. So Mr. Costley noticed earlier in the week that and we're starting to have more activity at Southgate Park. And it's always between that area between the horseshoe courts and the small quad especially. I'll admit some of my staff are a little bashful to trap, and they prefer to use the gas, but carbon monoxide, but I wonder if it's more effective. I think for me, I like to see the dead gopher right there. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's true. I've been doing this all my life.
Sure.
So, yeah, we are going to really tackle that with what's going on in Southgate, which is just starting right now. I noticed like a month ago, I was like, all right, we've got this under control, and then oh no, I come in this week, and oh no, here they're back. And unfortunately, it's the situation where the gophers didn't start at Southgate Park. They didn't start in Hollydale Regional Park. I remember talking to people that when I first started working for the city 30 years ago, that started working their career at Hollydale Regional Park back when it opened in 1976. They didn't have any gophers until they built the 105 freeway and started the migration into the neighborhoods. And then, of course, a lot of neighbors don't take care of their gophers. It's the same thing at Southgate Park. When I started at Southgate Park, there were no gophers. There were no gophers till about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And that was a change in society when people weren't really emphasizing as much care in their lawns now as they did back then. So gophers are going to migrate. They're not really underneath the power lines. It's too dry. They want grass roots. They want to eat roots. That's what they do. And so, yeah, they're going to come over to our park. People don't really kill them in their yards. So when they do, I'll tell you, they'll run a very long distance. It's not just from here to across the room. I'm talking up to thousands of feet. They'll literally come from somebody's yard into Southgate Park. So we're on it.
Right.
Okay. It's good to hear. I mean, that's a pretty big number, I think.
Yeah.
30 to 60 a day. I mean,
Yeah, that's a lot.
yeah.
I have pictures somewhere in my phone
Crazy visual. Wow.
on the tailgate, so yeah.
We're gonna have to start looking for something to do with them, huh? I mean, what happens to them? He traps them and then
Throw them in the trash. Yeah.
Okay.
Or bury them back in the ground.
Maybe that's why the coyotes are moving inland.
You know, you'll often see cranes and such, herons, especially at Holiday Park, and they'll just be standing there right in the middle, not towards the service roads, but right in the middle of praying. Or neighborhood cats, they'll be looking, waiting for it to come out. They'll come out, mess
Hawks.
around,
Yeah.
Hawks too, yeah.
keep the light out.
There's owls at the park too?
Yes,
right?
there's owls
Owls,
at the
yeah.
park as well, yes.
So the owls will take care of those?
Yes. There's a lot of wildlife at Southgate Park.
All right, thank you. Appreciate
You're welcome.
Anything else?
it. I think we're good.
Well, thank you. Do I have a motion to close open session item number 4? Or receive and file, sorry.
A motion?
I so move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll close open session item number 4. On to open session item number 5, recreation programming, second quarter review, fiscal year 23-24.
All right, before I turn this over, I just want two things. One, I want to introduce Nikki Salazar.
Hello.
She is our newest recreation supervisor. She took over for Paulita Davila. So she is overseeing the girls' clubhouse operation, the social cultural events, and different things like that. Normally, you would find Tina in that seat, but and since it's not hidden news in any way, shape, or form, but Tina has some medical issues at this time, cancer. She's going through it. Luckily, they discovered today that
Yes.
it's cleaned out and she has to finish some stuff. Won't be back for a little while, but we'll rotate in the 2 supervisors to help do reporting for it. But Nikki was hired in January, I think, right?
Yep, January.
And so this is her first, I think she's been here as a coordinator, but first chance as a supervisor to sit in and do reports.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for helping out.
So good evening, Commissioners. Steve gave me the intro already. So I am Nikki Salazar, the Recreation Supervisor, and I will be covering the second quarter, which is months October through December for the entire Recreation Department. All of our normal programming was taking place as usual, so I'm going to highlight the special events and the additions that we've had to our normally scheduled programming. So starting off with aquatics, in October, they had their first ever Patty's Pumpkin Plunge, which was an opportunity for residents to register for $10, and they would come into the pool with floating pumpkins in the shallow end. Each child was able to pick their own pumpkin, and then they would take it onto the deck where they were able to decorate it. They had games, music, and each child was able to leave with a goodie bag. In December, they offered their first ever Surfing with Santa. So participants also got to register for the $10 rate. It included arts and crafts, snowball fights, surfing with Santa himself, some games, and then pictures with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus as well. Moving on to our youth sports, as I mentioned, our regular fundamental classes were near full capacity. In the wintertime, we obviously do see a little bit of a dip just because of the colder weather. But for youth sports, we did host our soccer clinic, had 18 registered participants, and all participants were able to receive technique instruction, individual and team drills, scrimmage play, and then at the conclusion, everyone was awarded a certificate and a soccer bag with soccer swag inside. For our adult sports, we did finish up our softball seasons, our co-ed and men's divisions. They were awarded their championship hoodies. And our popular Ball and After Dark event took place the day before Thanksgiving. Each team registers for $25. It's a 12-team battle through pool play. Once they finish out their pool play, they're then seeded dependent on how they did in the pool play. And then it's a single elimination tournament from there. We did have new winners this time around, and the winners were able to walk away with an underarm basketball backpack. Moving on to social media, we have finally hired our recreation marketing coordinator. So he will be overseeing, that's Jerry Mendez, he will be overseeing all social media outlets. And yeah, we're slowly transitioning into getting all of that together. As far as our senior center, new programming that we are offering is Loteria on Tuesdays. And then we are offering a new yoga class on Mondays and Thursdays. For special events, as Steve mentioned earlier, we did have our annual Halloween haunt. At this event, we have all of our game booths, and we have our trackless train, DJ Gilbert playing the hottest tunes, kind of navigating the costume contest, dance contest, and this was the first year we were able to bring back our jumper play area for the kids. We are looking to add some additions for this year coming up, so keep an eye out for that, and we hope to see you guys there. As far as special events, we also had our first ever Winter Wonderland event, which is typically known as our tree lighting, but because of the centennial year, we were able to expand on that. We had over, I want to say about 1,000 people that were here. We had the snowball fight area, picture area, the tree lighting itself, snow sledding, churros, hot chocolate. There were a ton of, and the visit from the Grinch.
And Santa.
And Santa. If you were there, I think Santa arrived in a SWAT vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yep. I was at the snow sledding area, so I didn't really get to see it too good. I got to see the video afterward, but yes. And then that was in collaboration with the Santa Cop to make it a larger event. And then lastly, for cultural arts, they had their 3rd annual Southgate Art Walk. They had over 56 vendors, and 2 DJs, 3 bands, and 3 live artists. There was over 500 people in attendance for that event. And then the last thing for them, they also had the Dia de los Muertos community altar. The team was able to display 61 community members that have passed, and they had 2 activations so that people would have the chance to come and visit the altar.
Didn't know about that one. Okay, thank you for that report. Vice Chair Ruiz, do you have any questions or comments?
Just, I participated in some of the community events, and it's always great to see just how much effort the city staff put into making these events successful. And, now that I have a little one, it's just, it's something that we always look forward to, especially now with like the, Breakfast with Santa, the Halloween event. It's just really memorable, and I'm so happy. And even just hearing from, even community members that aren't necessarily from here, like, we had somebody at the council meeting this week talk about, participating in these programs, even though she wasn't, a Southgate resident. And it's just really great to hear that, you all make these life experiences possible. And I really do see the effort that the staff put into these events. So thank you so much, everybody, for all that you do. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and the social media, I definitely see the effort in that too. It's always really good to see the posts and share them. Thanks.
It's coming along. It's going to get better.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, do we have a number in terms of, I know that we had discussed that previously in social media following. Now that we have someone that's going to be dedicated to that, is there like a number that we're shooting for? Where are we at now, and what are we shooting for?
As being one of the founders of our social media task force, our original goal was honestly to beat the city's Instagram, because we're competitive. We're Parks and Recreation. But our original goal was 10,000 followers. If you don't mind, I'll check real quick. I think we're probably, I want to say about 4.
Okay, it's not bad. I know that.
5,000.
Okay, that's good.
5,000.
Halfway there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a good, platform, because it allows many people to follow us, know what's coming, down the pipeline. And I know that, to Liz's point, I know people that don't live in the city that follow the social media, and that's how they know that there's events coming to the city and events that they'd like to partake in. Because they lived in the city previously or they're from here originally, but that's definitely a good thing. And I hope to, maybe eventually in the next couple of months hear that we're at above 10,000. It'd be good to beat the city's Instagram and numbers, right?
We're competitive at heart.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, look, there's healthy competition is good, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Another question is regarding the actual programming. Are there surveys that are taken from like parents or participants to sort of gauge what programs are popular, which ones should continue, and possibly some that aren't so popular? Is there something in place to address that?
I know for me personally, I was promoted. So previous to this, I was the recreation coordinator for the youth and adult sports. And I know for our fundamental classes, at the culmination of our class, we would distribute surveys. And then we would obviously take the feedback from parents and participants. It was a Google form. And then I would then take that information and go over that with the staff who were running the classes. Just more insight on what parents expected of them. We did allow them the opportunity to express maybe any new classes that they would be interested in. So we have gotten a couple ideas, like we did offer an additional multi-sport with, our current multi-sport is baseball, basketball, soccer. So we changed it up and offered basketball, tennis, and, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It's basketball, tennis, and football, that's what it was. So we have added in a few new classes. I can say that for sports. I also know over at the museum that our coordinator there, Jennifer, she does also put out surveys. The Hometown Hero exhibit that just went up, she did put out a survey for that, and she does for her classes as well.
Okay, and is that something that's done through the social media platforms, or is that individually, like through email, or how is that distributed?
So we distribute, we would give handouts, and parents would just kind of scan a QR code. We also have the capability to do that through our recreation software system, Civic Rec.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Just for me, comments. I went to many of the events from October through December, and it was a great opportunity. There were even events I've never really participated in, and thanks to Steve, he really motivated us, got us in, and I mean, it was a very good experience. You know, I can't thank you enough for allowing us to be a part of that, and being that it was a centennial and everything. I mean, it was such a blast, and to bring my granddaughter to enjoy and just see her face light up, it was just a blessing. So thank you guys for everything that you guys did to put those programs on. My last comment is I put it out there a few times to join my social media page, Unori from Southgate. If there's 13,000 members on my page, I'm pretty sure once you get in there, you can put a lot of stuff on there and get a lot of promotion out to Southgate, former Southgate and current Southgate people.
I think Alan's
Some of my
offering his services, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it's an easy way to put more people out there, and they can join your page as well. So it might be a very easy way to get to that 10,000.
Awesome.
Okay. If there's no other comments, we'll go ahead and get a motion to receive and file.
This is Liz. I move to receive and file.
Second?
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll close this one. So we're now on to open session items number 6. It's annual program fee recommendations.
Yes, commissioners, before you, every April, we set new program fees or update them according to the programs that we have. On a traditional basis, we usually look to raise the fees 2%, 3%. In the last few years, we've done 5% and 7% because the state of California has raised their minimum wage on us on a regular basis. Labor is always probably the biggest cost in almost any set of programming. And so when those labor costs go up, you know, the fees tend to go up. But this year, for once, we're doing something a little different. Usually we ask for it across the board, 5%, 7%, something like that. In consultation with the supervisors who put on the programs, we've noted that we're coming to a point where we're hitting what we call the tipping point of fees. You raise it anymore, and you'll get less teams, or you'll get less participants, right? So we got to kind of debate the two areas of, hey, we need to make money, but we're not going to make any money if we raise it too high. We're just not going to get the teams in, and so
Yeah,
it's not.
what's reasonable?
It's not going to go there. So we looked at it. They've reviewed their fees to the specific programs, is you'll note in the report that the in-house programs, like our multi-sport, basketball things, stuff like that, still are lower than the area surrounding area and are within a move up, and so we can pay our labor. Things like adult basketball, adult softball, they're at the tipping point where we're at the higher end of fees. And while we have great facilities, money does drive a lot of the decision-making for teams and whether they're going to come or go. So they've asked, and we are recommending to the commission that we hold those fees at the present time and don't raise them, knowing that we could get our funding in from more participants and not just from higher fees. Sure. The secondary part of that is that we're also, sorry, I lost that a second there. We didn't want to move up the membership fees. As noted in the report, we just revisited the whole membership profile of how we do them, right? We split it from a sports and aquatics together to having separate splash fees and fitness fees, and we want to give at least another year for that to kind of germinate. We've noticed that aquatics has done really well at moving up on a lot of their things. Sports Center is finally catching back up to all of their past things, but we want to not, hey, go members, hey, we just changed the whole thing, and now we're going to raise the price again. So that's another one of those, hey, we're hoping to get more memberships in and more people here. As we do that, the revenues will increase. Maybe not quite as much, but we don't want to outprice our residents out of the market. So, and I can tell you by personal observation lately, if you come to the Sports Center, anytime from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., you will see a full house of people. I walked out today and hadn't noticed previously, but today I looked down and, hey, I've got 30 seniors at 10 o'clock in the morning taking a senior size fitness class, not your basic senior, but full-on fitness class with our new fitness instructor. We have a really good fitness instructor there who just, the seniors love him, right? And so they're all showing, and there's 30 of them out there. I was like, wow, but this is 10 o'clock in the morning. Basketball courts, so everything's full, and we're just trying to continue that motion forward. So the recommendation from us is, as you see it, we did not change all of the fees. We made it specific choices, and we would encourage the commission to adopt those fees with us.
Thank you. Vice Chair Ruiz, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I think that the biggest change in fees was just about $6, right? Or did I miss one?
Yeah, for the most part, it's mostly, who hit the swim programs, got some fees changes that all went closer to that, and most of those were the private and semi-private lessons.
Yeah.
And they went up $5 or $6. And in some of those, we try to, as we're servicing less residents on a private or semi-private, and it's more one-on-one, if you're going to get more one-on-one attention, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's just, instead of, hey, there's a group of 8 to 10 of you, we can keep that fee lower. But when it becomes one-on-one, it becomes more of a specialized thing, and we would not, at this time, recommend changing those.
And so you don't anticipate people being dissuaded from getting that
No.
service?
No. I find that the parents who want the private and semi-private, they're here with the specific purpose of making sure that their kids can swim,
Yeah.
and that their kids are not always attentive enough in a group lesson to learn enough. So they need that one-on-one or one-on-two atmosphere to help them move forward.
Got it.
Have you seen any impact to, for example, the budget? I mean, are there any positions perhaps that would be in danger of losing, or coaches that you'd have to cut some positions as a result of having to cover maybe some of that gap?
No, at this time, we're in the budget process, but we don't expect to lose any positioning or that because of that. We will never be a revenue-producing program that covers our costs. Just so Commission is well aware of this. There are goals we meet, but as a city, they have determined as part of their policy that Parks and Rec is important to the community, and they're willing to subsidize those uses, especially for the youth programs, senior programs and stuff. We try to get a little more out of the adult programs, but we are still a lower income place, and we want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to park and recreate, right?
Yeah.
And so our council has made it a priority for them that Parks and Recreation isn't going to be the revenue producing group in the thing.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And just to read, I know a couple of months ago, there were questions about how our fees compared to other cities. And just to reiterate, we do have programs that neighboring cities don't, right? And our fees are still pretty comparable.
We are quite comparable. I know my supervisors have gone through, as part of their request to not change all the fees, they went through and checked all the fees of the surrounding communities, and we're quite comparable. As I said, on the program side, we're on the lower end. On the adult sports side, we're on the higher end. They double-checked all of those. And so there was a second part of that question. I lost it there.
That
The programs that we
have
offer.
programs that
Oh,
other
we do
cities
offer some different programming from others. We try each year to make new programs. Part of their goals and objectives, which you guys approved, is to try something new here and there. You can't always offer the same thing because after a while, cyclically, it's going to go down. We try new things. We offer new things. Last year, I think one of our big ones that we tried was the mobile recreation stuff, and that went over quite well, right? Where we traveled to different parts of the city. As you guys are well aware, a lot of our recreation is Southgate Park based. It's just because it's such a big park and so many people are there. But that was a very successful program, and I think we're bringing it back this year where we're going out to other parts of the city, providing recreation there. And so we keep growing those type of things.
Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll have a motion to receive and file.
No,
Oh, not on this one, yeah.
This is to approve.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the proposed programming fee schedule for May 12, 2024 to May 12, 2025?
I motion to approve?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And that should conclude our open session items. We'll go on to our director's report.
all right, I will not take all of Nikki's thunder when she gets to report on the current activities going on, but I will answer Commissioner Pelayo's request on the fencing program. As you guys are aware, we were very ambitious on looking at replacing a great part of our fences throughout Southgate Park. And you don't recognize it until you look at it. There are a lot of fences at Southgate Park, right? One of our first ones that you see when you pull into parking lot number 10 near the Sports Center is the tennis courts. And if you've been by there lately, they're now green, and they look fabulous, right? We have finished the replacement of all the outfield fences of the small quad baseball fields, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The only thing they need is they will all get, by the end of the fence project, a yellow cap as a home run fence on all of them. So all 4 fields will have that. They are currently working on diamonds 1, 2, 3, and 4. The base right now is diamond 1. Staff, not just the fencing project, but staff has put a lot of time into making that almost into our stadium field. With the new fencing going up, we're having different backstops put in. The staff has managed to re-turf the whole infield, put up a new mound, the whole thing. It will look great. It's kind of construction looking right now, but the hope there is that we'll finish that by next week, Diamond 1, and they will move on to redo all the other diamonds, 2, 3, and 4 at that time. They have already poured dugouts for most of them and stuff, so it's really more about changing the fabric on the fences and some posts. There's a lot of work to do there, and we probably won't finish the large quad baseball diamonds until mid-May. Just so you know that, in case you get any complaints of, hey, we can't play, there's a reason. You can't pull off these projects without some interruption. And you really can't do it if Mother Nature is going to rain on you, which it has a lot this year.
Yeah.
And so we had hoped to be done. Our goal, our initial goal for all this was to be done the second week of April. No, way too much rain, way too much other stuff. But it's going to look great. We're going to have new things going on. So we got to finish the large quad. We will put new fencing on the swim stadium, the horseshoe pits. We'll all get it, and then the backside of the golf course. Also, the 60-foot fence on the front side, that separates the golf course from the baseball diamonds. So all that will still be taking place.
That's not part of Diamond One right now? I
Well,
know it's
not-
part of it, but I mean,
It's part of the overall project. It is not part of Diamond One.
this for right now, okay.
There is so much, a 60-foot
Because I'm
fence,
wondering, like, well, you're doing Diamond One, and that's all there.
60 feet of fencing is a lot of steel.
Yeah.
60 feet of golf course fencing, because golf course fencing is made smaller, so there's a lot more steel in it, is really heavy. And for that, you have to bring out a number of different lifts to get it up that high, to connect it all. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to successfully play the season out there. So that will probably be the last thing that goes up, and probably only during the days as we move forward. So we wanted to make sure that the diamonds themselves were usable, right? So that's what's happening with the fencing.
Great.
It will look good. It will still take a while to finish.
I haven't looked, but is the straight side of the golf course fencing getting changed, or was it switched out already?
I'm
I
sorry,
know
the
that
what?
The street side fencing?
Pinehurst?
The street side fencing will not be changed out, okay? There was not enough in the budget for that.
And, because I believe there were complaints, right, from residents?
We did have a complaint about golf course hole number 1, right? We internally believe it was more of a user error of residents and those who would golf who would bring the wrong clubs, and some who were a little more intentional on their
Right.
shots.
You got to believe that.
Right? That you can't always control. We did implement some new rules, like no drivers on the course, some other things to use the appropriate clubs, notified them that they're responsible for anything they break. And the last thing we did is we moved the tee box on hole 1 up about 50 feet, in which point there was no reason to use any other club but the pitching wedge.
Yeah.
And those complaints all disappeared.
Oh,
So, can we do that? Should we do it? Eventually, we should, but this
absolutely.
current project is running us about 2 million something. That's a lot of money. And so, funding became a choice of what could we finish, what couldn't we? And we,
Yeah, that's going to last years, so
right.
it's worth it.
So with that, we also completed the surfacing at the playground. You may have seen some social media reports on that. It was in bad need of it. Also, some repairs of the playground equipment for what's called the North Playground, the one on Southern and Hildreth. It is one of the bigger playgrounds you will ever find, and it's one of the busiest ones you will ever find. It was about almost $300,000 plus to put new surfacing in and fix things. It's a lot of money, but it's that big of a playground, that much use in it. It took a little while because a lot of companies don't have the manufacturing back in gear yet, and ordering slide parts was 40 weeks wait. And so there was no reason to start the project if you had to wait 40 weeks to get it. You had to wait for everything to arrive. So that did get completed, opened the day before Easter, and it's been very popular. And go on and see it. It looks colorful and great out there. It's a good thing. And then 2 other things just to remind you that are coming up. As I mentioned a little, May 4th is opening day for the Southgate Junior Athletic Association. The rumor has it that this will be the last opening day for its current president, and so that will take place on Diamond One. That's one of the reasons we're rushing Diamond One to make sure it's ready for play. The rest of the fields may not get there, but Diamond One will be ready for play on that day, and so that we look good out there. So you're all invited to that. And on April 20th is Earth Day in the city of Southgate. Public Works will be putting on an Earth Day event where they will have volunteers who will help clean up trash, graffiti, other things throughout not only the parks, but different places in the city and in the LA River. And will conclude over at parking lot number 5 in Southgate Park. And that's what I have, and I'll pass it to Glenn, and then he'll pass it to Nikki.
And just to kind of talk on what Steve was talking about, the diamonds, as you look at the large quad diamonds right now, staff did renovate them, but then we started the fence project, and so they look a little tore up, but it's not that bad. They'll just be able to go over it, regrade it, and get it right back in shape. It's starting to warm up. We're in this process of the season's changing to where it's really cold, and it's raining, and it's really hot. So staff are going to start turning irrigation back. It's been off for months in some places because of all this rain we've had, and so you're going to start seeing more irrigation coming on during the day. So we got to check the systems after being off for so long, and we'll have stuck valves and all kinds of other situations. We've planted around 20 azaleas inside the azalea garden, and let's see, that's all I can think about that. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, coming up for special events, we do have our Memorial Day event that will be taking place on May 25th at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Fountain. We're also in our planning stages for our concerts in the park and movies in the park. That'll take place every Friday this summer. Concerts are scheduled for the month of July. Movies are scheduled for the months of August. For our senior center, if you guys haven't been by, I suggest going by on Thursdays. We have karaoke and dancing, and the seniors get dressed up, and it's like they're going to a party. It's amazing. I was out there last week and talking to a gentleman named Francisco. He grew up here in Southgate, but he moved to Yorba Linda, but he actually makes the commute daily from Yorba Linda to come to our senior center. So that was just really nice to hear and just kind of talk to him and his history here with Southgate. We also have new televisions that are going to be installed in the conference room, in the lobby, and in our main hall. The Museum and Art Gallery, as I mentioned earlier, the Hometown Hero exhibit did open this past Saturday. It will be open every Saturday for this month. For fitness, there is our Biggest Loser culmination. This was the last week of the 12-week program. Typically, they have a potluck that ends with all the participants, and then they crown their winners. Youth sports, we do have our second soccer clinic that we'll be offering. It's this Saturday. And then we do have our All-Star Basketball Challenge, which is scheduled for April 29th. Adult sports, softball has finally been able to resume, not only because of the fencing project, but also, as Steve mentioned, the weather has just not been in our favor. So our co-ed and men's softball tonight, and co-ed will be starting tomorrow. And that's what I got.
And she should probably mention something about the 5K.
I was just going to say, the Spring Fit 5K.
And maybe give them a brief update on glow-in-the-dark pickleball.
Oh, yes, okay. So one of our Azalea events that we did add this time around was our glow-in-the-dark pickleball. It was a culminating event. We did open up for open play pickleball every Friday evening in the Sports Center gym. Half of the gym was dedicated to those pickleball courts. First week, I think we had about 30 drop-in participants for it being our first time ever. It was cool. We had kids, we had grown-ups, we had parents there playing with their children, parents playing against other children. It was just a nice environment to be a part of. And that continued for about 4 weeks, then led to our culminating glow-in-the-dark pickleball. If you guys saw the Instagram, hopefully you were able to see, we had about 80 participants for that. 65 registered, and then about 20 drop-in participants that showed up. So the entire Sports Center gym was lit up with black lights. We had glow-in-the-dark balloons, glow-in-the-dark face paint. So as the kids came in or parents came in, they were able to add on some face paint that glowed. We had 4 courts running. The nets had light up, like they were lit up as well. The paddles also had like tape that would be reflective to the black lights. We had the music going. I was there. It was fun to be a part of. I know my son personally was looking forward to this. We had been going every Friday because he's like, Mom, I got to be the best. I got to be the best. And so he was really looking forward to the glow in the dark And then at the end, we did have a raffle for some glow-in-the-dark, or for some pickleball bags. So everyone that came through the door, they received a raffle ticket, and then at the end of the event, those bags were raffled off. And then, as Steve also said, our Spring Fit 5K is set for May 11th. We are currently at about 500 runners. We're doing our last push right now. We do have our title sponsor, Bimbo, who will be sponsoring the shirts. We did get the Youth Commission. They are also contributing to our event. And I believe Amazon as well has been a sponsor for us. If you are not familiar with the event, there's 2 waves. We have our competitive wave, which is for anyone who can complete the race in under 30 minutes. And then we have our recreational wave, which is more for the families. Obviously, that's anyone over the 30 minutes. Walkers, people with strollers, everyone's welcome to join the event. The party starts at 6 a.m., and we literally mean 6 a.m. We as a staff come in, obviously, prior to that, and we set the entire course up ourselves, just because everything is on the park. Nothing is out on the street. So event starts at 6 a.m. We have our vendor area, our kids' fun zone. For the kids' fun zone, every time they participate in any of those games and inflatables, they also get raffle tickets, and we have a big raffle at the end for the kids. We have our professional race timing, and yeah, that's it. Each runner gets their T-shirt, performance T-shirt, and their sack pack and a medal.
Can you still sign up for that, or?
Yeah, we are still taking registration. You can either go, it's on our Instagram. You can go either through RaceWire directly, or you can register at the Sports Center. It's also available online through Civic Rec.
And you could do the stroller I could bring.
Yep.
I'll do that.
Comments? Okay, Vice Chair Reese, do you have any questions or comments?
Can you come back to me?
Okay, Secretary Palaio, any questions or comments?
Yeah, a few questions. If we can maybe get an update on the park ranger situation. I know that we had been looking for some, and I know there were some hires, but that
Today-
would be one thing.
Today, we just got 1 new hourly, and there's going to be a test on the 24th for, I believe, the 2nd full-time position.
Okay. Also, I know that a few meetings ago, we discussed signage that was possibly going to be either redone or it was in talks, specifically like no smoking and that kind of stuff. Is there any update on that?
We have entrance signage that says all the rules of the park. We did redo those in a number of our locations, so that when you get to parking lot 10, which is our biggest parking lot, near the Sports Center, or in parking lot 1 and 2, as you walk towards the building, there are signage that gives you no smoking, no campfires, no trash, please, all the good things in life.
How has enforcement of that been? I mean, occasionally you can still maybe smell someone smoking there, but I know that the park ranger situation doesn't help with that, but.
Our current advantage has been that the city authorized us to hire executive management security in replacement of park rangers until we get all of our park rangers on board. They have been excellent. We're never going to catch everyone. I think I gave this speech to council not that long ago. There's still only 1 or 2 rangers on at a time. There are 9 different parks. There's 6,000 people. It's hard enough to get from one end of Southgate Park to the other, right? So there's always going to be someone who is doing something. But there's now, with them around, there's been a lot more presence, and that usually slows down all of it. Will there still be someone who has a beer in their backpack? Yeah, that ain't going to change.
Yeah, especially around the casino area, right, on
Yeah, that's,
on Tweedy and Hildreth, right?
Yeah.
I know that that's still sort of an issue, and hopefully, not, with more rangers and the management company, I think.
part of that problem is that present, all we have is that they are park patrons using the picnic area. You got to prove that they're
Yeah,
gambling.
of course, that's the difficult part. Another thing regarding the pool pads on the pool, I know that that came up. Has any progress been accomplished there?
I'm sorry, which
The,
one?
the pads, the electronic pads for the swimmers at the pool. I know that was mentioned.
It has been mentioned that it was brought up at council on Tuesday. The problem with that is not that we can't get what's called, the touch pads. It's the fact that the scoreboard there hasn't worked in 3 years.
Ah,
And so you can have all the pads you want, but
Sure.
it's not going to do
a
anything.
complete system
until-
overhaul, basically.
And this scoreboard is going to cost us somewhere around $120,000. So spending $5,000 on touch pads is one thing, but it's the connection to a scoreboard that you need first.
sure. Okay. Yeah, and lastly, regarding Diamond 4, I used to play softball years ago, and I know there was always flooding around the dugout area. Has anything been done about that?
We've been working on the turf and the irrigation in that area. And one of the suggestions I gave staff was to put a French drain in there. Yeah, also on Diamond 9.
Okay. Yeah, I know Diamond 4, I mean, for years, we dealt with it basically. Walking through there, little water's not going to hurt, right? But,
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's nice to just be able to walk in there and,
One of the other things I
enjoy
did is had staff kind of change the landscaping in there. We lost a big podocarpus tree, and that's the issue. Those podocarpus trees, while great for shade, they do tend to raise the soil up, and so water then kind of works its way around into the lower areas.
Sure.
So, yeah, we're working on that.
okay, thank you.
All right, I remembered my question. So related to the fencing, I know it was briefly discussed at the council meeting too, whether there were going to be signs for folks to not throw balls purposefully or practice purposefully against the fencing. But my other question is with the netting too. I know that at least for the tennis courts, there's been trouble with some of the what's mostly been youth that I've seen kind of hit their balls against the nets. Is there something to point out for folks when we do see them
The tennis
doing that?
courts have standing rules that sit on the entrance,
Yeah,
so we can point to those for any of that. The baseball fields, the problem that caused a lot of the damage to the fences has gone down, which is no pepper against the fence. This is what now, in the old days, that's all you ever did as a kid. You hit the ball against the fence. But now they've invented nets and everything else, and that's gone away for the most part. But there's still some who will do it. And let me just tell you, we will put out signs. Glenn will be working on that, getting some signs out on the outfield fences so that they aren't doing pepper on the fences. But I don't want to blow smoke at anyone. They don't pay attention to those signs.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. One more comment?
Yes, about if, I know you just talked about it recently too, but the progress or I don't know if it's under your purview, the NR development issue with them just dropping the work.
I can give you an update on that. Both the Urban Orchard and the Hollydale Community Park are a shared projects between the Parks and Rec and the Public Works Department. And basically, and I know there's been some social media out on it, but the bottom line is that we hired NR Development for the Urban Orchard. That got shut down not because of them, but because of the county, right? While they were working on the Urban Orchard and in good standing with the city, we also hired them for the Hollydale Community Park, right? And they were working on that on a regular basis. There were issues with the county, and so they closed down the Urban Orchard, and that became an issue unto itself. And then during this overall process, they lost their foreman for their whole construction crew. He passed away in a plane crash, which seemed to have changed the whole dynamic of their construction organization, at which point they slowed work, eventually stopped work, and we've had to issue them a notice that we're canceling their contract and going after what's called their surety bond. Basically, when you start a big project with the city, you put a bond in that says, hey, if we don't complete it, this insurance company will pay for all the stuff we didn't complete. First time in my career, and I've done a lot of projects, we've had to pull that bond. So what we have to do now is, you got to go through a lot of legal processes to get to that point. And now we pull the bond, and now we have to go back and say, surety company, how are you going to remedy this? Will you hire a crew to come out and finish? Will you allow us to hire a crew to come finish? And it's harder because as you look at a project, say Hollydale Community is 80% done. There's a lot of it is done and won't take that much to finish. But if you're a new contractor, do you want to come in and guarantee the work of the guy who was there before that you don't know? That's not as easy to do, so you got to figure out some of the problems that go with that. Hey, we're willing to take it over, but I'm not sure that they poured the right concrete. They don't know, right? And so so it's going to take a while to move that process along.
It's a shame.
Any other questions?
No, that's all. Thank
Okay.
you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Close that, okay. We'll go ahead and close the director's report, move on to the Parks and Recreation Commission Subcommittee reports,
I thought that was
Part of
what
that.
that was.
okay? We'll close that then. So next item is a request for items on future agendas. If anybody has any suggestions? Good? Okay, we'll close out part of it too. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.